This conference will now be recorded.
Tuesday.
Okay, we'll open this meeting with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight we have Lori Fitzgerald, who would like to speak on the holiday village stroll. Table is yours.
It's the annual request for use of Mids Park. So we have Plan A, and we have Plan B. Plan A is everything goes off as it has gone off every year but last year. Plan B is it looks like last year. So hopefully not. But we want to use the Mids Park for to have Santa in the park. We're still trying to figure out how to socially distance because you really can't have kids sit on his lap. We're going to assume that that's going to be the rule. So we may just stanch them off and create some situation where they can take pictures so that it looks like they're with them, but they're not really. And this year, instead of having him come down on the fire truck, we're looking into getting a horse-drawn sleigh to bring him down because we're going to use the fire truck elsewhere. We will have the radio station tent there as usual. The mailbox for letters to Santa, since they can't sit on Santa's lap, they'll just put their letters into the mailbox. We're also talking with World University Games about potentially having a table where they can sign up volunteers. So there's that part. I don't know if we're doing a Yule log this year. Because I'm not gonna run it. I don't work there anymore. And everybody else was like, nope. So I'm not sure whether or not we're gonna do that. We are talking with Emerge 125, which is the resident ballet company at the LPCA, about doing some sort of children's activity, but I think it'll be too cold outside. So we may try and put them into an indoor venue instead. So those would be the things. We'll have a selfie stand in the park. And then we're also, the Santa parade is going to go on. So that we're gonna use the fire truck and all the emergency vehicles will once again follow the bus routes and say hello to all the kids. So that was pretty popular last year. So we're leaving that in regardless of which plan we use. I think that that's my only thing that I need in this park. Oh, and then the tree lighting, we would have the choir. We'd like the multicolored lights again if we can, but I forget who's.
Have you been in touch with Charisse? I know this year they're trying to make Main Street look even more Christmassy.
Mhm.
I believe there's a leaf grant they're trying to get. I just didn't know if are you coordinating it all with MJ or Charisse?
No.
Oh, because your dates are right around the 15th, I think.
Our dates are, I think, the 11th or the 10th to the 12th, something like that.
Okay, it'd be nice if we could have those lights in place by then.
Yeah, and last year, we actually did put trees inside, or the year before. We put trees inside the band show. But we're not sure what the situation is going to be with the choir and whether or not we're going to be able to have the choir.
Okay.
It's always helpful to have lights in Mids Park because it's so dark down there. And now if we're not going to have the Yule log fire, it's going to be really, really dark. But if we can't have the choir, then there's no reason to draw people down into the park so much. So we'll have to figure that out. We have a meeting Wednesday, I think, to talk through some of those details. But I think we bought the trees from Charisse, so we'll connect back into her and see. I think I have the lights and stuff. So
Doesn't the park distribute the trees?
for inside,
I think it's more the electric department.
the electric department gets the big tree. But then we bought 2 small trees to put inside the band shell because we wanted it to be more festive down there. We had at one point a whole plan to have artificial trees all along the shoreline. We just didn't pull it off in time. So, but yeah, we're happy to work with them to figure out what to do.
Does Lori actually need any approval from us, or what
Just
exactly?
permission to use the park.
Permission to use the park.
And then if we're gonna have the fire, permission to have the fire. But I think that's.
So a motion then would say for Lori to use the park and or the Yule log if it happens. I mean, I think it's a great thing. So favor? Aye. Guys, what? Do you want to coordinate with Sharice?
Yeah, I'll reach out to Sharice.
Okay, if you have any problems, you let me know and I'll.
Yeah. I will.
We did this last year, right? It wasn't John.
I've done this piece of it since 2011 or something.
It's been a long time, right?
It was counting, right?
So there's no one else
Hopefully
doing the
next year
other
it'll be somebody else. I keep trying. Bethany Valenza from Roost is actually organizing.
Okay, so
Because 2 years ago, I went to Mary Jane and said, this needs to be their job. Like, we can't keep trading hands. I can't run this whole thing from my office. So it became part of Bethany's full-time job,
Okay.
which, thank God last year, because it wouldn't have been a stroll if Bethany wasn't focused on it. So,
because it's so important, because it's such one of those local events
Yeah.
that it does bring in others, but a lot of the kids look forward to that.
It is, and that's why the fire engines going through all the neighborhoods. I mean, if you saw any part of that last
Oh, yeah,
year,
it was
it
amazing.
was absolutely incredible to watch these kids lose their minds.
Then ran to the window
Yeah,
and just like saw them all.
Yeah, they were all in the street. We're talking about maybe throwing them candy and stuff this year. We'll see.
Oh, boy, we're just recovered from the 4th of July. Thank you for your efforts and this is
All right, you're welcome. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay. Okay, we will move into the clerk items. Hope you've had a chance to read the regular meeting minutes.
Any corrections, Jackie? Just I just wanted to get that out of the way. So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye as well. Okay, and item B is water department travel, water fluoridation, and New York State standard operating procedures, emergency procedures, November 16 and 17.
Who's going? Timmy? Tim Manning.
Any
They're
questions?
both local, like drivable, no hotels.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes as well. Item C is finance department GIF program, which will be online, and did you say that was free?
Okay.
Okay. Any questions there? So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
As well.
Okay, and item D is the Adirondack Film Society request. They're requesting $1,000 to help them put on one of their films, if I recall right.
I'm gonna make the motion to approve $1,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then item E, we talked about in work sessions, and if it's the pleasure of the board, we talked about renaming One Main Street Park Brewster Park. I also think from reading Deb's note that it's been called Brewster Park in the past, so maybe we're not naming it, maybe we're just going to rename it, but just so it becomes officially Brewster Park.
Are we adding, we're not going to do any additional signage, we're just going to.
I think at this point, let's name it the park, let's wait and let construction go where it's going to go. Suggestions been made to move the rock maybe into a more prominent position. And then maybe somewhere down the road, we can look into maybe a storyboard or something like that.
Okay.
If that sounds good to the rest of you.
Yeah. I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye as well. Anything else to come from clerk items?
No, that is all.
Okay, treasurer items, approval of warrant affidavit number 4. Do I assume, thank you, Jackie?
You only had one question for me this week.
Oh,
Do I hear a
was she
motion?
busy? So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye as well. Anything else to come from the treasurer?
The AUD is done and will be posted, so I gotta give it to Anita tomorrow. But it will be up on the website and it's free to use.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that. Any new business coming before the board tonight? Any old business? I guess one thing that I did go out with Kimball and do was look at streetlights. It sounds like a lot of you have done the same. I don't really care one way or the other if we go with the 2700 or the 3000. I think they're both nice temperatures, both nice lighting. I was up on the street, as I said, with Kimball, and a few people walked by and I said, what do you think? And I showed them the 2 lights, and every 2 out of 3 pointed out the 3000 lights. I do think some, that's the lighter of the two, the 2700 is the yellow.
That's what Mark and I both agreed on.
And I do think down the road, that's going to be the future, and but then as far as getting off Main Street, going back to the 2700 Kelvin, it's just a little bit calmer light.
Yeah.
Mark had made the suggestion, there's a halo light. Has everyone seen that? The halo light costs $40 more, and when you look at it, it doesn't give you the glare that the others
Is
do.
it the one on Hillcrest?
I thought that was well worth the money. I mean, once again, we're a tourist town, all about what it looks like. The other option, I think that added $120, was for the electric department to have the ability to change the intensity of the lights.
And they can schedule it when it comes on and off.
Well, I guess from talking with Kimball, the thought was, let's take some of our back streets where we might be able to throttle it down, say after 11 or 1 o'clock at night, so it's not as bright. But I did make the suggestion, things like Hillcrest, where there's no sidewalk and there's higher traffic, you might want to keep the lights up.
Yeah.
But, you're only talking about going from like 40 watts to 20 watts. So it's not a big deal. I did ask him to do a cost comparison there to see if there was payback or how much it would really cost us in the long run to have that ability. But just so you know, those are the thoughts and things I've been out to see.
I like the idea, but having the overall cost is the.
Even if we broke even, it's just the right thing to do. That's what I like about it.
I'm all for it.
Okay, and we'll see where this all goes. Also, if you get up, I just showed you pictures with the bump out, which are going to be the crosswalks are starting to be formed.
So that means all like tourists will just still cross the street wherever they want to.
Well, the whole idea behind this, as you know, it's to bring our crosswalks into compliance and to minimize the time the pedestrian is in the hazard.
On the Main Street sidewalks, are they gonna put up those signs like they have on Saranac Avenue that, the new signs that say crosswalk ahead and then at the crosswalk? So there's now a multitude of signs for crosswalks on Saranac Avenue. And it, it has up here is the crosswalk sign, and then the poles that the sign's on all have reflective yellow running up and down them. Nobody's seen those?
No, I haven't paid
Yeah.
attention.
Go up Saranac Avenue and like the crosswalk that's by Nash Street, and then the crosswalk that's down by McDonald's, the one that goes across there. They all have these big new double signs, one before the crosswalk, one at the crosswalk. And the stanchions that the signs are on both have reflective yellow lights on them. So they're pretty.
Those are the new DOT regulation ones. that
So
they-
I don't know if those are gonna be on Main Street, because they're gonna look,
Do you have?
it's gonna be a plethora of signage on Main Street.
Oh, God, MJ will just go ballistic.
Yeah, I just encourage you to go look, because if that's what they're putting up on Main Street, it's going to shape
We don't have a choice then, is that what you're saying, Mindy?
No, I think the reason that they did it on Saranac Avenue is those particular crosswalks,
Kind of dangerous. Isn't it?
well, and they're not predominant. There's nothing
Right.
showing you that, hey, there's gonna be a crosswalk up here, or hey, there's gonna be one near McDonald's or whatever the case may be. Whereas Main Street was designed with those bump outs, so I don't think.
I know in the past, we've debated with DOT and whoever that, they wanted these big signs at the crosswalk, and we've said no, but I just encourage you to look at the ones on Saranac Avenue, and you can make your own decisions, but I'm sure you're going to say, oh my God, if they're every so often. For the number of crosswalks that's on Main Street, it's going to be sign.
How many crosswalks are there, do you know off the top of your head?
5 or 6.
On Main Street, at least.
At least?
Well, and I don't know that reflective signs would work because you have vehicles.
They're tall too, these sidewalk signs on Saranac, to me, they're much taller than, they appear much taller than.
Reflective would be.
But you're also going a little bit faster down Saranac Avenue than you are on Main Street. I mean, even,
You wouldn't even think a sidewalk or a crosswalk would be along that road at that stage of the game.
well, at Nash, everybody crossing to go to cut mud or,
Well,
That, like, I can see that, but that's even hidden as you're coming down.
well, they're where the side streets come in.
Mhm.
all right.
But anyway, I just point that
I'll
out.
check with Brad. I know at some time we talked also about the ones you see where you could walk up and push a button and it'll flash so you can go across. I don't
Yeah.
remember, because like I said, I wasn't on that board back then, so.
It's really keeping you.
Oh, I
But I've-
remember hearing something similar to that, but the flashing was in the actual crosswalk itself.
No, they were on,
They were
they were on the
reflective.
sign,
Yeah.
they flashed.
I think if they were in the sidewalk itself, they'd be plowed up every winter.
Yeah.
Just-
No, these do have, there were crosswalk signs that were gonna have flash.
I'll find out. I'll look into it.
I don't know what the plan is, but I hope they're not.
Based on the initial bump out, it's gonna be pretty obvious where the crosswalks are.
Mhm.
But except cars will be parking them in unless something's sticking up. Okay, that was all.
He was being on green and then he came.
Anything else under old business? Nothing under mayor items, other than the fact you all know that the governor was here.
Right. Invites went out that one. Not that
Things went
How about I
well.
go?
Any commissioner reports?
I just, so, talking about beautification and Sharice, they applied for a substantial, who's on their board?
A
Do you
lead
know?
grant, it was, they applied for substantial what?
Lead
Who's-
grant.
Who's on the beautification board? Is
Yeah.
there a board?
There is. Because the only question that we had was just like, it was substantial, what's your master plan? And is there anything that prohibits from stringing across a roadway?
Banners, but I don't know about lights.
Who would know? Kimball?
So I feel like we.
Well, no, the banner law is ours. I think we prohibited banners going across the street.
How about lights?
I don't recall us ever addressing lights,
In
but
12 years, I've never. come
I mean,
I think that would be, I mean, you'd have to really raise those lights substantially for the amount of trucks that go down the street.
I mean, there used to be, for example, at the intersection of Station Street and Main Street, remember there used
Yeah,
to
the
be,
3 strands of garland.
yeah,
And didn't that come down once?
I
Somebody?
don't know, but that was, that was when we had real garland too. But that used to be there. I think we discouraged what we prohibit now, banners. We have a policy or a local law prohibiting banners other than across the street banners. We have the whole banner policy for other banners. But I don't know that we have any lights, but I would think the rationale about banning across the street banners may apply to lights across the street. And I don't know if DOT, if it's a state highway, they probably would not allow them.
We'll find out.
So
There is a board, I just don't know who's on the board.
Mary,
Would you?
you sent it back saying, it's what is the overall objective of it? Because it was so diverse. and-
It was very diverse and just,
I can relay the conversation Sharice and I have had. If you remember the last grant she looked, or leaf grant, she looked for self-watering pots
Yeah.
and a truck. And I think she wants to continue the self-watering pots.
right,
That's her master plan to cut down on labor. And when I talked to her about Main Street, I said, my experience from the motel is it's so dark here in the winter. I decorate for winter, not for Christmas, with most of the motel.
Yeah.
And that way you don't feel like after the end of December or January, you've got to take the lights down. So that's kind of the guidance I gave her there. But then again, I do think it's nice to have some things you put up for Christmas, but you do realize that they're going to have to be shut down maybe the end of January. because March, as we all know, can still be very dark. But that was the guidance I gave her. And the whole idea here, I think, with the LEAP grant is to go above and beyond what the village has been able to do and really make Main Street look like a showpiece. And I also think down the road, it will also mesh with the World University Games when they come. Whatever we don't get right this year, we'll try to get right the next year.
So is beautification looking to purchase lights on their own? Because right now the electric department supplies all the lights.
I think they were looking, a lot of the things that, at least when I was, my short time on the board, was when certain things were asked for, it would become, say, either part of the electric department or in some cases the park commission. So let's say like there was a tent, if someone wanted a tent, the park commission would be able to let them use a tent or a jumbotron. And I think the lights would probably want to go to the electric department so that we can roll them out.
Yeah, maybe I might be wrong, but if Jackie is saying they have a very expansive or a huge ask, what is the master plan? But then that master plan is merely a recommendation to the board. And should they be requesting a substantial amount of money if they haven't given a recommendation to the board as to what they're planning on doing?
Well, like I say, the only talks that I had, we just want to make lights on Main Street look that much nicer. I don't think we'll ever reach the Mirror Lake Inn level, but just try to up our game a little on Main Street. That's something that's been talked about by Lori and the Business Association for years, but just something we as a village haven't been able to accomplish. And that's where we're hoping the LEAP grant can do this.
I think the Golden Arrow's been given the Mirror Lake Inn run for their money lately.
Well, and if they get a grant for a vehicle, then we don't have to supply one.
The vehicle was last time around.
Okay.
And we don't supply
We don't supply
vehicles to them, they buy them. We just been short.
Yeah. In the past, we've given them our
Wasn't given much, right? Okay, did I answer your that?
Yes.
Okay. We're under commissioner reports. I don't think I got into that. Anybody have any commissioner reports? Okay. Do we have any public?
public P.
Public P.
Peter.
He's back. He went away and then came back.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions? We're not sure if Peter is Peter Holderried or someone else. Any questions to come to the board? Okay. Well, that being the case, no one has anything else. I'd ask for a motion for adjournment. All in favor?
Aye.
You sure about that?
I got a pop roast waiting for me.
Talk for how long?
It gets better.
Okay, great.
Somebody motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we even-
I didn't admit it. Oh,